Welcome to part 3, Execute Orders. I've fast forwarded the game a few turns, gotten some more people and a ship in play in order to demonstrate the different orders that you can execute during your turn. First and easiest is you can beam personnel. You could take personnel from your headquarters mission, this stack of personnel. Anytime you play personnel, your opponent can look at them when you play them and then are placed face down. They're hidden information from your opponent until you need to demonstrate that you can complete a mission or beat a dilemma, that sort of thing. So you can beam personnel. You can take them from the headquarters mission and beam them aboard a ship at that mission, as long as they are not stopped or anything. If you have a ship at a planet mission, you can beam personnel down to the planet or up to the ship. If they're at a space mission, you can't beam them into space. That's not a winning move. However, if you had another ship at that mission, you could beam them from one ship to another. That could happen at any mission that you have two ships. So, beam personnel. 2, you can move ships. We already touched on this when I described the ship card type. You need the staffing icons again to staff the ship. You also need one personnel at least who matches the ship's affiliation. You got plenty of Klingons here. So you move the ship using its range. This has a range of 8, and you count up the span number here at the bottom of the mission, plus the span number of the mission you want to go to. So 2 plus 2 is 4. It's going to take 4 of the 8 range the ship has, so you could fly here. Then you could also fly again. You could fly from here to here. 2 plus 1 is 3 range. That uses 3 more range, so you're down to 1 range left for this turn. You're not going to be able to fly anywhere else. So, beam personnel, fly ships, execute orders on your cards. Ba has an order on it. You can destroy this event to begin an engagement. That's a ship battle involving your Klingon ship. That ship is weapons +1. If you win, score 10 points. So, if you've got a card that starts an engagement, you have to have a ship of yours at the same mission as an opponent's ship. Most of the time that means you're going to fly to an opponent's mission. Just like you'd fly to any of yours, you just move them over onto your opponent's side of the table. Again, adding up the span numbers. Then you follow the text of the card. You destroy this event to begin an engagement. That's the only way you have to battle of any sort. You need a card that says you can do that. Begin an engagement. Combat is the personnel version of a battle. If you have people on the same planet or aboard the same ship as your opponent's personnel, they can fight if you have a card that begins combat. You begin the engagement. You compare your weapons, since you're the one shooting at them, with their shields. If you have more weapons than they have shields, you win. This says if you win, you score 10 points. The only thing that happens if you win an engagement or combat is what happens on the card. You figure out the winner of combat in the personnel battle by counting up your total strength versus the opponent's total strength. So, beam personnel, move ships, execute orders on cards, attempt missions. You attempt planet missions by beaming people down to the mission. Everybody that's on the planet attempts the mission when you execute the attempt mission order. Or you can attempt space missions. Everybody at the space mission attempts the space mission when everybody on that ship at the space mission attempts the space mission. We're going to attempt a mission to show you how that works. So when I attempt this mission, I count up my personnel. I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 personnel attempting to provoke an interstellar incident. Nice guys. Your opponent takes their dilemma pile. I'll use mine just to show you how it works. The opponent takes their dilemma pile and they count out 7 dilemmas. And they've got 7 cost to spend on dilemmas. Yeah, dilemmas have those little white numbers too. They get the amount equal to what they drew, unless a card says otherwise, of course. Now you'll notice these dilemmas have different icons on them that determines what type of mission you can use the dilemmas at. This is a space mission, so I can use space dilemmas like Gom to Shockwave. Dual dilemmas has the little small planet icon on it, like Chula the Chandra, but I can't use planet dilemmas like No Kill Eye or Minor Revolt. One tricky part about dilemmas for a new player is the person who's facing the dilemma processes the text. So the opponent is choosing dilemmas for your personnel to face, and they're looking at the dilemma. I've got backroom dealings here. It says, choose a personnel who has treachery or integrity less than 4 to be stopped. If you cannot, randomly select a personnel to be killed. Now, your opponent's looking at this dilemma is thinking, so do I choose who chooses the personnel? The person who faces the dilemma chooses the personnel. So if you gave this dilemma to face, they look through their people and choose someone who has treachery, Coral, they'd stop him to process the dilemma. I'm going to actually show you this whole mission attempt to give you an idea of how it goes. I'm going to pick out 2 commonly used dilemmas. It's a nice, usually pretty effective combination here. I've got 7 to spend, so I'll spend 4 on Chula the Chandra and 3 on Gom to Shockwave. I'm going to put them in a dilemma stack for the opponent to face. They will face the one that's on top of the stack, the face down stack, first. I'm going to take every dilemma that I didn't choose, place it beneath my dilemma pile face up. Anytime you go to draw dilemmas when an opponent attempts a mission and you reach a face up dilemma, you've got to shuffle your pile immediately and replace it face down. So we're attempting the mission, provoking an interstellar incident. Get some dilemmas to face. We'll face the first one. Process the text. Randomly select a personnel. To do that, you shuffle your personnel, you have them face down, you fan them out, and say, hey, opponent, pick a card. I'm not shuffling them because I want to show you some tricks. So they pick a personnel, and it's Marat. All right. Repeat this until you select a personnel with a cost equal to or greater than the first personnel you selected. So they select Gowron. He's got a cost of 3. Marat has a cost of 2, and so he's greater than, so we don't keep repeating. Stop each selected personnel. Stopped personnel are in play for uniqueness only. You can't use them to complete missions or face dilemmas or staff ships or anything, really. They're nothing until the end of your turn when every stopped personnel becomes unstopped. I'm looking at this. I don't want these people to become stopped. They're both very useful. So I've got some tricks. I can play Relentless. When your Honor Klingon, Gowron is a Klingon who has honor, is about to be stopped by a dilemma, discard an interrupt from hand to prevent that. So I have this is my hand over here. Discard an interrupt from hand. I'm going to prevent Gowron from being stopped by Chula the Chandra, so I'll be able to keep using him. Now, Gowron has text, when your Honor Klingon present, that's any personnel around him, he's not present with himself, but when your Honor Klingon present is about to be stopped or killed by a dilemma, you may discard a Treachery Klingon from hand to prevent that. You may do this only once each turn. Marat is also an Honor Klingon, so I'm going to discard Ortakin, who is a Treachery Klingon, from hand to prevent Marat from being stopped. Well, that's great. I faced Chula the Chandra. I don't have any more text to process. When you're done facing a dilemma, unless the dilemma says for it to go somewhere else, it goes face up underneath your mission. Next, I move on to Gom to Shockwave. Unless you have 2 diplomacy and integrity greater than 32, or telepathy and integrity greater than 35, all your personnel are stopped, and this dilemma is placed on your ship. It's got this damage text. This ship is attributes -2. So if I can't meet that requirement, this dilemma is going to go on the ship. It's going to make it attributes -2. If you ever get 3 damage markers on a ship, it blows up. Don't want that to happen. And everyone gets stopped, so I really don't want that to happen. So I go through and I'm looking for diplomacy and telepathy, and I don't have any of that. So I got to be a little tricky here. I've got this interrupt in my hand, the promise. When your Klingon affiliation personnel is facing a dilemma, he or she gains all skills and attributes on a Klingon personnel in your discard pile. This effect lasts until the end of the dilemma. Well, you can always look through your discard pile, and I got a Klingon, but he doesn't have diplomacy, so that doesn't really help. So I'm looking through my personnel, and I've got Riker here, and he says, while this personnel is facing a dilemma, you may discard a card from hand to make him gain a skill from your Klingon present until the end of that mission attempt. And I still don't have any of those skills on these personnel. What can I do? Well, Riker says I could discard a card from hand. Kern, who's in my hand, has 2 diplomacy. So I'm going to use Riker to discard a card from hand to make him gain a skill from a Klingon present. He'll gain security from Gowron. Doesn't really matter. Then I will play the promise. I will give my Klingon affiliation personnel all the skills and attributes on a Klingon in my discard pile. That'll be Kern. And he'll get 2 diplomacy. And this will last till the end of this dilemma. So now I've got 2 diplomacy. This is in my discard pile. Integrity 6 plus 5 is 11. Plus 6 is 17. Plus 4 is 21. Plus 6 is 27. Plus 6 is 33, which is greater than 32. So I meet the requirement. It doesn't tell me where to place it in that case, so it goes under the mission. I've got no more dilemmas to face, so I see if I can complete the mission. Riker gains his skills till the end of the mission attempt, so he still has Gowron security. So he's got leadership, navigation, and he's got Gowron security, and I need strength greater than 34. Klingons are pretty good at this. 6 plus 7 is 13. Plus 7 is 20. Plus 6 is 26. Plus 7 is 33. Plus 7 is 40. That's greater than 34. I complete Provoke Interstellar Incident. I'm going to turn it sideways to indicate that. You don't have to, but I'm going to get the 30 points on it. I now have a completed space mission. Well, I only used 4 range to get there. I've got 8 range total, so that I've got 4 range left. I can still fly this ship. I still have all my people with staffing icons. Fly to Cardassia 4, attempt to rescue some prisoners. I'm going to beam every person down to rescue these prisoners. I'm going to tell my opponent it's still 7 personnel. I'm going to attempt with 7 personnel at rescue prisoners. The opponent will take his or her dilemma pile. And this, again, I'll use my own dilemma pile to demonstrate. 7 cards. Now I'm at a planet mission. I didn't get any space dilemmas, so that makes that easier. I'm going to pick out, again, 7 cost worth. 4 plus 3 is 7. Place the remaining dilemmas face up underneath. And now we'll attempt this mission. Intimidation. This is like Chula the Chandra. Randomly select a personnel. Repeat this until you select a personnel of a different species than the first personnel you selected. This time I'm going to do it random. Let's see what happens. I didn't do it random last time. Again, just to demonstrate. Anytime it says randomly, you would shuffle them. So I fan them out for my opponent. And I say pick one. They do. Let's see. Repeat this until you select a personnel of a different species than the first personnel you selected. Stop each selected personnel. Wow, okay. So Klingon, human. Okay, I don't continue repeating that. Stop each selected personnel. I still have Gowron around. He can only do it once each turn, and neither of them have honor anyway. So they are just both going to be stopped. And we'll move on to the next dilemma. Rogue Borg Ambush. Unless you have intelligence and cunning greater than 35 or a hand weapon, that's a keyword that shows up on some equipment, and strength greater than 35, randomly select a personnel to be killed, then all of your other personnel are stopped. So if someone gets killed, they just go straight to my discard pile. So I have intelligence. I don't have a hand weapon. I haven't played any equipment. Intelligence and cunning. Ugh, Klingons are not very smart. 5 plus 5 is 10. Plus 4 is 14. Plus 4 is 18. Plus 5 is 23. That's not nearly enough. I'm out of tricks in my hand. Someone's going to get randomly selected to be killed. So I shuffle them up. I say, hey, opponent, pick someone to be killed. They pick out Camus. It's a good one to pick. And all my rest of my personnel are stopped. So I'm not attempting any more missions this turn. And the dilemma goes under the mission because it doesn't tell me otherwise. Now, here's the mechanic. On my next turn, I can attempt this mission again because I didn't complete it. I look at, I've got 6 personnel. I say I've got 6 personnel attempting. Now, there are 2 dilemmas underneath. I subtract the number of dilemmas underneath the mission from the number my opponent can draw and spend. So I'd say I attempt with 6 personnel. There are 2 under. The opponent draws 4 dilemmas and have 4 to spend. So, in theory, missions get easier over time. We won't go through this next mission attempt because that was the end of this turn. This turn, I'm done executing orders. I've got all my personnel are stopped down on the planet. I don't have anything else to do. I've got no orders to execute. I'm going to end my turn. I check. I see I've got only 1 card in hand. If you have more than 7 cards in hand at the end of your turn, you're going to discard down to 7. And that's my turn. And now it's my opponent's turn to play and draw cards, execute orders, and the game keeps going until one person gets 100 points, has a space mission and a planet mission. And that player wins the game.